Now, Small Business Administration has released details of the process for companies to apply for loan forgiveness under the Paycheck Protection Program last week. For more on how community banks are working with the program, we're joined by Ira Robbins, Valley National Bancorp CEO. Ira, first want to get your thoughts here on what you're hearing from small businesses. Are they saying that PPP is enough, or has it really not solved a lot of the revenue problems?
Thank you so much for having me. I think we're hearing mixed signals from a lot of different small businesses. That said, for most of them, they believe it's been an unbelievable lifeline that has saved their businesses. I can count the number of small business customers that I've spoken to that literally cried on the phone the evening we called them and told them that they were accepted for the PPP program.
So, Ira, with regards to getting those loans out, I mean, we know that the program has largely been exhausted. The companies that were looking for that money presumably either have it on the way or already have it right now. I guess the question is that going to be enough to sort of get them through this period? What are you hearing from some of those companies about what they view to be their viability as businesses, given that we're still in sort of partial shutdowns from state to state?
It's a great question, and we're going to get many different answers from many of the businesses. For the ones in Florida that we've dealt with, I think the timing seems to be about right for them. The question is when the rest of the phases of the state government and allowing them to begin to do things really begin to take effect. They think 2 months is probably going to be a little short and need to be extended a little bit longer from a lifeline perspective until business really does pick up. That said, you look at other geographies that were in New York and New Jersey, and 2 months is going to be a real challenge if we really haven't begun to reopen the state at this point. They're probably going to need a little bit more of a lifeline, and the concern becomes how willing is the government to either extend what they currently have or make them go through another process to apply.
I'm wondering, as we work our way through the economic mess of this, you had a lot of companies in the beginning draw down on lines of credit, tap a lot of those lines of credit. Have you seen any of those start to be repaid? Or are companies still conserving cash as if they are in crisis mode?
Yes, they're still conserving cash as if they're in crisis mode. We've had a lot of people draw down to a degree, and really the money just went back in the bank. So they haven't really been able to use a lot of it. And I think there's a concern as to what they're going to use it for until economic activity really begins to change direction from what it's at right now. How much business investment are you really going to be able to put into your business? If you're a restaurateur in Manhattan, hiring and really starting a business hasn't really been at the forefront right now until you know that there's going to be customers that are willing to be able to come in, whether it be that the state is now allowing it or that they feel comfortable in that environment.
Yeah. So, Ira, what about your business? What about Valley National specifically, given some of the economic issues going on out there? Combine that with the fact that you have an interest rate environment that, at least by traditional metrics, would tend to work against the profitability of banks. How are you managing through this crisis, and what are your expectations specifically with regards to navigating through this interest rate environment?
Yeah, it's going to be a real challenge. I think low for long is probably the environment that many bankers would believe is going to be in force for a period of time. And it's going to put challenges on the net interest income. For banks like Valley that make 85% of their revenue on net interest income, not having an interest rate environment that has an upward sloping curve is going to be a real challenge. If you couple that with the anticipated credit issues that are going to be impacting the banking industry later in the year, it's going to be definitely a negative. That said, I think banks are really well positioned to be able to come out of this and to be able to continue to lend going into this environment. At Valley alone, we have 200 basis points more of capital than we had going into the last recession. So I think banks are much better positioned than what they were before. That said, I think the business models for banks that are just focused on net interest income are going to be definitely challenged over a period of time, and we're going to have to look to other sources of income as we migrate through this period.
All right, Ira, I wish we had more time. We're going to have to leave it there. We really appreciate you taking time to be with us. This is Ira Robbins we were speaking to. He's Valley National Bank President and CEO.